Okay, so welcome back. Here we are on this force boiler. There's the rating plate. Kind of interesting. It arrived. The logo was missing, and there's a nail hole in this bad boy. So, fun things we got here. We got the main part of the header piped in. It's not quite how I would wanted it to turn out, but we got to do what we got to do. So we've got a 3 by 2.5 inch bushing tied in there. That's a little silicon carny, high temperature silicon carny, to kind of nourish the threads a little bit. This is a 2-inch T, 2-inch header. The instructions call for 2.5 inch. The instructions call for a 2-inch header in this size, so we've supersized this. We are just barely 24 inches above the waterline here. So we're, and in that respect, we are meeting the minimum standards, but we hope that with the oversized header and oversized outlet, that should work. And we're going to have a really nice equalizer line down to just above the water line, and switch off to 1.5 inches here, and then go in with 2-inch on the return. And we're going to put a drain here. There's a drain on the other side, but I was like, you can't have enough drains. This thing's a little stiff, so what I'm probably going to have to do is maybe chase the threads on this and in here. This thing is not feeling well, so yeah, see, that's starting to lock up. So I'm going to check that. U.S. boiler, which I believe is manufacturer of this fine product. Again, likes to spec this nice sight glass set with these pure brass rods and not steel, so they don't rust in place down here. If this leaks, this usually bonds to this, and you have to cut the rod. It's terrible. So nice brass rods and nice brass internal washers in. Stainless steel. Oh, stainless steel, yeah, in there rather than brass. And I have no idea who makes this. It's kind of like a state secret. It might be Combraco, but yeah, usually the stuff that's coming out of Combraco is not quite as good unless you pay extra for it, I think. Here's your drain valve, which is going to be replaced with this. There is the number for all those who want to know where to get this. This is one example, and that's it. Some people have asked me where I get this. It's red white valve, and that's the number. And so if you're watching this video, great. If you're not, well, that's what you got. Ain't I a stinker? Psycho guard. And there's the useless 30-pound gauge with internal siphon, which I consider to be a warning label, because that basically means that's going to clog, and a couple of years this thing is going to show 5 pounds when there's no pressure on there. Who cares, because that thing's pretty well useless, but it has to be there for code. The other thing that these guys like to do is the isolation relay. Now, the one problem with the isolation relay is it does tend to hum when energized, which is kind of annoying. So anyway, we get back to the equalizer line. There's the 1-inch return. I've got that sort of piping fantasy going on here. That T there is going to pick up this drip. And this is as I think we discussed before, the last video, this is a counterflow main. And so steam is going to be going up in this direction and water is going to be coming back down. So we don't want it to go back down here and chill the steam trying to come back up. So we're going to catch the water here and send it to the wet return. Now there's the original wet return. We're going to come off there. We're going to probably put a drain facing that way and a T, unions, valves, all sorts of friendly stuff, so we can add water to the wet return and bring that in. Still thinking of putting the VXT somewhere in here. Then I'm gonna have to pipe the line over. Here's where the relief valve is gonna go. There's our skim tapping right there, 1.25 inches. So I'm gonna come out with about an 8-inch nipple, and I've got just enough room here to hang a bucket. Now, some people might ask why we're running it this way. Well, when we tried to work these fittings out, we couldn't get a proper pitch except if it was in this orientation. This is sloping down this way, and this is sloping down this way. And then we got a nice swing joint there to make this nice and tight. We've got it up on blocks. We've got our wedges of sin leveling this out. This is looking pretty good so far. Now we're going to be bringing the gas line in probably tomorrow, and probably drop it right in here, make that work, and that's going to be followed. The power is going to go into here, and then we're going to run low voltage to the VXT. It's a VXT 24, and let's take a sort of overall view. Got my homemade 2.5 inch nipple rack there. Extra fittings and parts. And I think it's coming along. More fittings and parts. Lovely tri-stand. That's our homemade rack for soldering up the VXT so it looks nice and square and plumb. And so there we are. There's the news from Baltimore, and thank you again for your support.